G'day everyone, welcome to Two Wheel Workshop. I'm Brody and today I'm going to cut some valve seats. So if you've been following the channel, you'll probably remember that this engine was in a pretty bad way. It had gotten moisture in the bores which had rusted the rings and seized it, as well as rusting the valve seats to the point where lapping them just wasn't going to bring them back. So today we're going to fix that. Alright, to do this we've got the valve seat cutters. Now this is a set that my dad gave me. He bought it in the early to mid 70s. I've tried to pick a set up recently and everywhere I go just looks at me stupid and then tells me that I have to go to a machine shop. So I'm super stoked that Dad gave me these. We've got the head obviously, and we've got the factory XS1B manual. Now this is the original manual from the 70s. Alright, so you can see in the factory manual you've got a diagram of the valve pocket, and that's got three profiles. You've got A here, which is a radius profile, C, which is the valve seat itself, and that's got a 45-degree profile, and then B, which is the throat, and that's got a 65-degree profile. Now when you recut the seat, two things happen. You remove material and the diameter of the seat itself gets wider, and also the width of the seat gets wider as well. Alright, so we want to maintain the same diameter and we also want to maintain the same width, which is 1.3 millimeters. So to do that, once we've recut it, what we do is we recut this profile, which will bring the diameter back in, and recut this profile, which will bring the width of the seat back in as well. Now the problem I've got is I don't have a radius cutter. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm just going to have to remove as little material as possible and hope that the valve seat doesn't get too wide and that I'm still able to achieve a good seal. Alright, so for the valve seat itself, I've got a 46-degree cutter. Now I'm not really too concerned about it being 46 and this being a 45. The reason it's 46 is because the company that manufactured these recommends an interference fit. So they reckon that if the outer profile of the valve has more pressure than the inner, that you'll get a better seal. So if I do the calculations, 1 degree over 1.3 millimeters equals 0.0227 of a millimeter, which is nothing that like a couple of turns of the lapping tool isn't going to take off anyway. So not a big deal. As far as the throat goes, I don't have a 65-degree cutter, but I do have a 60-degree cutter. That's not a big deal because that's not a contact surface or anything, so I can just recut that to 60 degrees. Right, so I'm going to cut the exhaust port first. Now you can see here, this is the valve seat itself, and you can see all that pitting around there. So I'll run the cutter over it and I'll give you another look and we'll see how it goes. Right, so first we'll take our expandable pilot and we'll put that into the valve guide. Now the instructions for the valve seat cutters say you want about a 2 or 3 mil gap in between this shoulder and the valve seat guide, so you only want this expandable section to be contacting the valve guide. Hand in hand with that, this whole thing wants to be inside the guide as well so you don't damage the expandable portion. I've already checked it out and it fits perfectly. Then I'm going to take my 46-degree cutter, place that in there, make sure the blades are all the right width. I'm going to have to adjust these blades. They need to come out slightly. See how that goes. That's That's better. Alright, let's see how we go with that. I've got an adapter there. Then we take our wrench, place that over there, give it a bit of pressure and make sure the pressure is centralised over the cutter. Right, once we've done that, give it a few light turns just to get rid of any chatter marks that we might have left. Couple more like that. Alright, and then we'll take our 60-degree cutter and place that in there. Alright. I'll just measure the valve seat width right about there. It's like 2 mil. Heaps more to go. Couple more turns and should be good. Right, it's all nice and shiny now, so it's kind of hard to tell the difference, but right there is the change between the throat and the valve seat. And the valve seat's between 1.3 and 1.5 mil. And you can see there's no pitting around there anymore. So that should be good. I've put a valve in there and made sure that it's not too wide. I reckon I'll get away with it. So I'm going to leave that one alone and move on to the next one. That one was nice and easy. That's done. I'll just cut the throat for a few turns. Alright, this is a much better example. Once again, probably hard for you guys to see, but there's the change. The valve seat itself is about 1.3 mil, and I've just recut the throat. Alright, so I don't know how I didn't pick up on this before, but this valve is bent. which is probably the reason why this valve seat was the worst, because it was never closed. And also probably the reason that the bike was just left out in the weather to rot for so many years. But that's all right. I think I've salvaged the valve seat, and I've found this exhaust valve in amongst all my spare parts, which is in pretty good nick and isn't bent. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lap them all in, put the head back together, and she should be good to go.